Imagine discovering an ancient book in a dark, dusty attic. The book has a cracked cover and pages so old that they could crumble if you breathe too hard. But there's something special about it, something forbidden. This book, they say, was banned for centuries. Adam and Eve were the first humans living in the perfect paradise of the Garden of Eden. But what if I told you that after they were cast out of the garden, their lives were filled with fear, danger, and terrible choices? These choices had a profound impact not only on them, but also on every subsequent generation. Let's go back to the moment they left paradise. Imagine stepping out of the most beautiful place you've ever seen. Golden trees, soft grass, sweet fruit everywhere, only to find yourself in a harsh, rocky wilderness. The ground is sharp and jagged, the sun beats down hard, and you have no idea what's out there waiting for you. Adam and Eve were scared. They didn't know how to find food, where to sleep, or how to stay safe. But the worst part, they weren't alone. Far away, hidden in the shadows, Satan was watching. Remember him? Remember him as the one who deceived them in the garden? Well, he wasn't finished with Adam and Eve. Oh no, he had bigger plans. He wanted to destroy them completely, to show God that humans were weak and unworthy, and he wasn't going to fight fair. This ancient book reveals that Satan followed Adam and Eve everywhere. Sometimes he pretended to be a friend. Sometimes he appeared as something so beautiful it was impossible to resist. Every time they started to feel safe, he would trick them again, whispering lies, tempting them to make mistakes. He even sent his followers, disguised as beautiful, glowing women, to confuse and distract them. What could be so important about Adam and Eve's family that Satan would stop at nothing to ruin them? The answer is simple. They were the beginning. If he could destroy them, the whole world would crumble. And what happened next proves just how much danger they were in. What Adam and Eve faced after leaving Eden wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a battle for the future of all humanity. And the secrets in this forbidden book might just hold the key to understanding it all. After Adam and Eve left the Garden of Eden, they tried to rebuild their lives in a harsh and unfamiliar world. But survival wasn't their only challenge. They had children, Cain and Abel, and with them a whole new story of pain and betrayal began. This part of the forbidden book doesn't just reveal what happened. It dives into the terrible choices and emotions that shaped humanity's earliest days. Cain, the firstborn, grew up with a heart heavy with jealousy and anger. He had a twin sister named Lulua, whom he loved deeply. But in this time, marriages between siblings were common, as they were the only humans on Earth. Adam and Eve had a different plan for their children, deciding that Cain should marry someone else, the twin sister of Abel. This decision planted the seeds of hatred in Cain's heart. The story takes a dark turn during one of humanity's earliest rituals. Adam had taught his children to offer sacrifices to God as a way of showing gratitude. Abel, the younger brother, brought the best of his flock as his offering. Cain, however, chose to offer crops of lesser quality. God accepted Abel's gift, but rejected Cain's. This moment crushed Cain's pride and fueled his jealousy. How could his younger brother receive preferential treatment over him? His anger festered until it consumed him entirely. Remember to join our community by subscribing to this channel. One fateful day, Cain led Abel into the fields. There, away from anyone who could stop him, Cain struck his brother and killed him. This act, the first murder in human history, shattered their family. Cain didn't just kill Abel, he introduced violence into the world. And as the forbidden book reveals, this single moment of rage created ripples that would haunt humanity forever. But the story doesn't end there. Following Abel's demise, God cursed Cain. God condemned him to a life of wandering, saying, "The ground will no longer yield its crops for you, and you will be a restless wanderer on the earth." In fear, Cain cried out that others would kill him for his crime, but God marked him with a sign to protect him. This mark of Cain became both a curse and a warning, symbolizing the consequences of unchecked anger and jealousy. From Cain came a lineage that would continue to stray from righteousness. The book describes how his descendants became pioneers of human innovation, inventing tools, music, and even weapons. However, the world didn't use these advances for good. Cain's family introduced violence, greed, and destruction to the world. Instead of bringing joy and prosperity, Cain's family used their creations, such as musical instruments and farming tools, to harm others. This duality, creation versus destruction, became a defining theme for humanity. The Forbidden Book also sheds light on an ominous development: the rise of the Nephilim. These were the giants, born from the union of Cain's descendants and fallen beings who brought terror to the earth. Genesis 6:4 described the Nephilim as mighty men of old, men of renown, yet their actions were far from noble. They ruled with cruelty, bringing chaos and corruption that spread like a plague. The story of Cain and Abel offers a profound lesson about morality. It shows how unchecked emotions like jealousy and anger can lead to irreversible consequences. Cain's inability to control his feelings didn't just cost Abel his life. It set a precedent for the darker side of human nature. It's a warning about the power of choice. Cain had a chance to do better, to master his emotions, but he let his anger win, and humanity paid the price. This tale of betrayal and consequence resonates even today. We see reflections of Cain's story in everyday life, in conflicts fueled by jealousy, in the misuse of creativity, and in the choices that lead people down destructive paths. The Forbidden Book reminds us that every action, no matter how small, can ripple across generations. The question it leaves us with is simple yet haunting. If Cain had chosen differently, how might the world have changed? After their banishment from Eden, Adam and Eve stepped into a world that tested them in unimaginable ways. Their journey became a profound reflection of human frailty, showing how easily people can fall, struggle, and rise again. The Forbidden Book paints this picture vividly, revealing not just their external challenges, but their internal battles. It is a story of resilience, fear, and the never-ending quest for redemption. Leaving Eden was more than just losing a home. It was losing their connection to divine perfection. Imagine moving from a paradise of endless beauty to a harsh, unforgiving wilderness. The book describes how Adam and Eve were struck by the desolation around them, sharp rocks under their feet, a relentless sun burning their skin, and no sense of direction or safety. Their despair was overwhelming. They wept for what they had lost, grieving not just for themselves, but for the future generations who would inherit a broken world. This profound sense of loss wasn't just physical, it was deeply emotional and spiritual. Adam, in particular, felt the weight of his choices pressing heavily on his soul. The Forbidden Book describes how he lamented the consequences of his disobedience, wondering if things could ever be set right. Eve, too, bore the pain of her actions, reflecting on how her curiosity had led them down this path. Together, their grief became a symbol of humanity's struggle with guilt and accountability. But mourning wasn't an option for long. In the wilderness, survival demanded every ounce of their strength. They faced challenges they'd never known in Eden, finding food, enduring extreme weather, and avoiding wild animals. The book recounts how Adam and Eve had to learn how to work the land, plant seeds, and grow crops. Yet even the soil seemed cursed, refusing to yield easily to their efforts. This harsh reality forced them to adapt, showcasing the resilience of human nature. One of the most haunting details is their experience with hunger. The book describes how they went days without food, feeling their bodies weaken under the strain. This was a new and terrifying sensation for them, one that reminded them of their mortality. In Eden, they had been immortal, free from pain and decay. Now, every ache and pang of hunger was a stark reminder of the fragility of their human form. If their physical struggles weren't enough, Adam and Eve also faced relentless spiritual challenges. Satan, still bitter over his defeat in the garden, didn't stop tormenting them. The Forbidden Book describes how he appeared to them in many forms, each more cunning than the last. Sometimes he came as a friend, offering help or guidance. Other times he appeared as a vision of beauty, tempting them with promises of comfort and power. His goal was always the same: to make them doubt themselves and the Creator's plan. One striking story involves Satan disguising himself and offering them food, hoping to exploit their hunger. But Adam and Eve, though weak and afraid, remembered the lessons they had learned. They resisted his tricks, showing a flicker of the strength and faith they still held within. These moments of resistance remind us that, even in the face of overwhelming adversity, humanity has the power to choose what is right. Another poignant part of the story is Adam and Eve's new home, the Cave of Treasures. Located near the Garden of Eden but far from its beauty, the cave was dark, cold, and unwelcoming. This was the place where they were to live, grow, and rebuild their lives. At first, they were terrified of its shadows and confined spaces. The book describes Adam hesitating to enter, fearful that this dark hole in the ground would be their eternal prison. Over time, however, the cave became a symbol of transformation. It was here that they learned to adapt, to rely on each other, and to find hope in the smallest blessings. The Cave of Treasures wasn't just a physical refuge, it became a place where Adam and Eve began to understand what it meant to be human, to struggle, to endure, and to seek redemption. What makes Adam and Eve's story so powerful is how it mirrors the human experience. We too face moments of loss, guilt, and fear. We stumble and fall, overwhelmed by challenges that seem too big to overcome. But like Adam and Eve, we also have the capacity for resilience. The Forbidden Book shows that even in their lowest moments, they found ways to rise again. They prayed, they worked, and they hoped for a better future. Are you enjoying the story? Support our channel by clicking the subscribe button. Adam and Eve's story did not end with their survival outside Eden. It evolved into a tale of relentless conflict and hard-won resolution. Their journey reflects humanity's ongoing battle between light and darkness, good and evil, and the constant search for redemption. The Forbidden Book provides a lens into these struggles, highlighting the choices, mistakes, and triumphs that shaped the future of mankind. The moment Adam and Eve left the gates of Eden, they faced a world where conflict was unavoidable. Discord replaced the once perfect harmony they knew in paradise. Blame and guilt began to fracture their relationship, rooted in love and unity. The book reveals how they struggled to trust one another after their fall, questioning their decisions and the path that had led them to exile. But their personal struggles were only the beginning. Their children inherited this fractured world, and the seeds of conflict planted in their parents' actions began to grow. Cain and Abel, their firstborn sons, embodied this tension. As they grew, their personalities diverged. Abel was humble and obedient, while Cain harbored jealousy and bitterness. This divergence would set the stage for one of humanity's earliest and most tragic conflicts. People often simplify the story of Cain and Abel as a tale of jealousy and murder, but the Forbidden Book adds layers of complexity. The brothers' conflict wasn't just about their sacrifices to God. It was a manifestation of deeper emotional and spiritual struggles. Cain, feeling rejected and overshadowed by his younger brother, let his bitterness fester into hatred. The book describes how Cain's anger led him to lure Abel into the fields. In that quiet, open space, Cain's emotions boiled over, and he struck his brother down. This wasn't just a murder, it was a breaking point. Cain's actions introduced violence into the world, showing how unchecked emotions could lead to devastating consequences. God confronted Cain, asking, "Where is your brother, Abel?" Cain's infamous reply, "Am I my brother's keeper?" reveals the depth of his defiance. God's response was both punishment and mercy. Cain was cursed to wander the earth, his hands unable to bring forth fruitful harvests, yet God placed a mark on him to protect him from others who might seek vengeance. This act demonstrated that while God condemned Cain's actions, he did not abandon him entirely. Mercy, even in judgment, became a recurring theme in humanity's story. Cain's lineage, marked by his curse, became a source of further discord. The Forbidden Book portrays his descendants as innovators of tools, music, and crafts, but their advancements came with a price. Instead of using their creativity for good, they turned it toward greed, power, and destruction. Their weapons became instruments of war, and their cities grew corrupt with sin. At the same time, Adam and Eve's other children, led by Seth, sought to live righteous lives. They settled on a sacred mountain, keeping their distance from Cain's descendants in the valleys below. For generations, these two lines lived separately, with Seth's people worshipping God and Cain's descendants spiraling deeper into immorality. The division between these groups highlights a universal truth. Humanity's potential for both good and evil exists side by side. The choices we make, influenced by our surroundings and desires, determine which path we follow. This conflict between righteousness and corruption became a defining struggle for early humanity. One of the most striking moments in the Forbidden Book is the fall of Seth's descendants. For years, they resisted the temptations of Cain's line, remaining faithful to their purpose. But the valleys below were filled with enticing sights and sounds, beautiful women, captivating music, and the allure of a life free from restrictions. Slowly, Seth's people began to descend from their mountain, drawn by these temptations. This descent was more than physical. It symbolized a spiritual fall. The mixing of Seth's righteous lineage with Cain's corrupted descendants led to the birth of the Nephilim, giants who ruled with violence and cruelty. These beings, a blend of humanity and something far darker, spread chaos across the earth, further deepening the conflict between good and evil. Despite the overwhelming conflict, the story of Adam and Eve's descendants offers moments of hope and resolution. Even as humanity fell into chaos, individuals emerged who sought to restore balance. The Forbidden Book mentions how some among Seth's line tried to return to the mountain, seeking forgiveness and reconnection with their Creator. The story of Adam and Eve is more than an ancient tale. It is a mirror reflecting the journey of every human being. Their lives, as described in the Forbidden Book, show us the delicate balance between choice and consequence, strength and weakness, loss and redemption. It reminds us that the first steps outside Eden were not just the beginning of humanity, they were the beginning of our eternal struggle to understand ourselves and reconnect with the divine. From the first act of disobedience to the ripple effects that followed, Adam and Eve's story underscores a powerful truth. Our choices matter. Their decision to eat the forbidden fruit didn't just change their lives, it shaped the destiny of all who came after them. Cain's anger and jealousy didn't just cost Abel his life, it brought violence into the world for the first time. These moments serve as warnings that the smallest actions can have the greatest impact, rippling across time in ways we cannot foresee. But their story also shows us the beauty of choosing differently. Adam and Eve sought forgiveness, turned to prayer and sacrifice, and began to rebuild what they had lost. Their resilience reminds us that even after our worst mistakes, there is always a path forward. Every day we face choices like theirs, opportunities to fall or to rise, to turn away or to seek grace. The Forbidden Book reveals that the battle between good and evil, temptation and righteousness, didn't end with Adam and Eve. It continued in the lives of their children, their descendants, and in every generation since. Each of us must confront this challenge in our unique manner, woven into the fabric of humanity. If you're enjoying this incredible journey and it's given you some important insights, please consider supporting our journey by clicking on the Super Thank You button. This helps us continue to delve into the mysteries of the past, uncover hidden stories, and create thought-provoking content that inspires and challenges you. The temptations of Cain's lineage lured Seth's descendants from their mountain, a story that mirrors our modern lives. How often does the allure of what appears easier, more exciting, or more rewarding pull us away from what is right? The Forbidden Book warns us of the dangers of forgetting who we are and what we stand for, urging us to remain steadfast in the face of life's distractions. Yet it also reminds us that even in the darkest moments, hope remains. The flood that wiped away the corruption of the Nephilim wasn't the end. It was a chance for renewal. This cycle of fall and redemption echoes in every chapter of humanity's story, showing that no matter how far we stray, there is always a way back. What makes the tale of Adam and Eve resonate across time is its universality. Though the events occurred in a distant, mystical past, the emotions, struggles, and lessons are timeless. Their story teaches us about the dangers of pride and jealousy, the power of resilience, and the importance of faith. It reminds us that even when we feel lost, we are never beyond redemption. In a world filled with uncertainty and conflict, the Forbidden Book offers a simple yet profound message. The choices we make define not only our lives, but the legacy we leave for future generations. It urges us to reflect on our actions, to seek forgiveness when we falter, and to never stop striving for a closer connection with the divine. As the echoes of Eden fade, one truth remains. The story of Adam and Eve is not just their story, it is ours. It is a reminder that life's greatest challenges often lead to its most meaningful lessons. Their journey from paradise to exile, from despair to hope, mirrors the journey of humanity as a whole. In the end, Adam and Eve's story is not about their fall, it's about their journey to rise. And in that journey, we find the essence of humanity in that journey, to struggle, seek, and hope for redemption. And join our community by subscribing to this channel. Until the next video.